I'm going to show how to replace the bearings in a washing machine. This is a Maytag Bravos Quiet Series 300. This is the kit we used that was purchased online. I will put the link to this product in my video description. The kit comes with instructions, hardware, and a tub press tool. Note the name of each piece of hardware. I will be using these terms when explaining the installation. This is the tub press tool. Here's a quick demonstration of how it's assembled. Begin by taping the lid down with duct tape. Next, you will need to open the top. Use a putty knife to release the two spring-loaded locks on the front. These locks are about 5 to 6 inches from the corners. Here's a better view of their positions and how to unlock them. Lift the top and secure it in an open position using a strap. This model has a wash plate instead of an agitator. Remove the plastic cap on the hub using your fingers. This will expose the bolt underneath. Remove this bolt using a 7/16 socket. Next, locate the hose in the back corner. Using pliers, squeeze open the clamp and slide the hose off of the tub ring. The tub ring can now be removed. To do this, you will need to find the plastic locking tabs around the perimeter. Simply press these in to release the tub ring, and then lift off and set aside. The wash plate is now ready to remove. Simply lift it from the drive shaft and set aside. Next, take out the drive hub. Start by removing the 6 screws using a Phillips head screwdriver. Pull out the drive hub, making sure to note the individual pieces and the order in which they came out. Spray the hub with penetrating lubricant and allow it to soak in. The basket will now need to be lifted out. However, most likely it will be stuck on the drive shaft. To pull it off, take a scissor jack and balance it on top of the drive shaft. Then cut a board that fits the inner diameter of the basket. Position the jack and the board in this manner. Make sure the board is meeting up with the metal rim of the tub and not the plastic. Next, start raising the jack until the basket is free. With help, lift the basket out and set it aside. Now, close the top and lay the machine on its back in order to access the bottom. The rotor will now be removed. To do this, take out the rotor bolt using a 1/4-inch hex driver. Work the rotor off using both hands. If the rotor is stuck, gently pry around its perimeter with a flat pry bar. Next, take off the stator by removing the 4 stator bolts with a 3/8-inch socket. Once the bolts have been removed, remove the retainer ring. Then remove the stator, and finally, the motor shield. Now locate the plugs on the end of the wire harness. Unplug these to free up the stator and set aside. Using channel locks and an adjustable wrench, unscrew the nut from the drive shaft. Then use a hammer to knock out the drive shaft. Return the machine to an upright position and open the top. The drive shaft should now be easy to pull out. Note that the tub seal came out with the shaft. With the tub seal out, the top bearing should be revealed. However, this one is completely destroyed, as can be seen by the exposed ball bearings. I will address this issue later. Next, take the metal rod and send it down the side of the inner tube. Rest it on the bottom bearing. Use a hammer to knock it out of the bottom, alternating positions as you go along. Do the same to the spacer tube until it falls out the bottom. Then close the top and lay the machine back down to access the bottom. Take the rod and repeat this process on the top bearing. At this point, I need to mention an issue that occurred. Since the top bearing was destroyed, the only part of it that was left was the outer ring. This was difficult to remove because the rod could not make contact. I ended up welding a homemade tool that I used to get the ring out. We designed this tool to expand in the ring by turning the nut. Once it was as tight as we could get it, then we made contact with it using the rod and knocked it out. Know that there are other methods, but this one worked for me. Once the bearing has been extracted, tip the washing machine back up and open the top. With a rag, clean out the bottom of the tub. Next, locate the weep hole, as seen here, and clean it out using a wire. Once the area is clean, take the large top bearing and seat it in this manner. Next, load the tub press tool with the top bearing press in this manner. Then seat it through the bearing, making sure the locking bar is positioned downward in the sump area. Next, close the top and return the washer to its back. The press rod should now be protruding from the bottom. Insert the following items over the press rod. First, the spacer tube. Then, the bottom bearing washer. And then, the small bottom bearing. Next, load the press rod with the bottom bearing press, followed by the thrust washer. Thread on the bottom press nut and hand tighten. Use a crescent wrench to advance the nut until the bearing has been seated. Then back the nut out and remove the press. Inspect the bearing. It should protrude out about 1/8 of an inch in final position. Now return the machine to its upright position. Open the lid and remove the tub press tool. Take the new drive shaft and insert it through the top bearing in this manner. Using a mallet or a block of wood and a hammer, seat the shaft into the top bearing. Check the shaft to make sure it turns. Then, close the top and lay the machine on its back. Next, thread on the new shaft nut. Secure the drive shaft tip with a pair of locking pliers to keep the shaft from turning. Finish tightening with a crescent wrench. Now take the stator and return the wiring harness plugs to their original positions. The plug positions should be well marked on the rim of the stator. Next, install the motor shield in its original position, followed by the stator and the retaining ring. Secure into place with the 4 stator bolts. Then tighten using the 3/8" socket. Reinstall the rotor and secure into place with the rotor bolt using the 1/4" hex. Use a long screwdriver through the holes of the rotor to keep it from turning while tightening. Now return the machine to its upright position and open the top. At this point, you may decide to clean the inner filter, accessing it by removing these 2 screws. But this is totally optional. Next, take the tub seal and note its anatomy. One side has a spring around the inner perimeter. Make sure it is well seated and not damaged. Also, note the inner cavity. This will be filled with grease. Using the grease from the kit, fill the inner cavity of the seal with a liberal amount. With a finger, pack in the grease to make sure there is no airspace. Next, take the tube of adhesive and run a bead around the outer perimeter of the seal. Focus the bead on the spring side of the outer perimeter. This is the side that will initiate the seating. Once the adhesive is tacky, install over the drive shaft and seat into the tub with the spring side down. Start the seating by working it in with your thumbs. Finish the seating in this manner using a hammer and a piece of PVC pipe that came in the kit. Now run a bead of adhesive around the top of the seal. Allow the adhesive to cure for 24 hours. Finally, clean off the drive shaft of any residual grease. Once the adhesive has cured, return the basket to the tub. Now reinstall the drive hub. First, add the washer. Then, lining up the splines, stack the pieces in this manner. And finally, secure it in with the 6 screws. Tighten using a Phillips head screwdriver. Now, reinstall the wash plate by lining up the splines and placing it back onto the drive shaft. Secure with the wash plate bolt using a 7/16 socket. Then, return the cap. Next, reinstall the tub ring, making sure the hose connection is positioned in the proper orientation. Secure the ring into place by snapping it back into the locking tabs. Then reconnect the hose and secure the hose with the hose clamp. Now close the top and remove the tape from the lid. And finally, finish by locking the top down into place. The washing machine is now ready to use.